It's World Cup final day. But before we get there, we of course had the third, fourth place playoff yesterday on day 28 of the World Cup, where Croatia emerged victorious in the bronze medal playoff against Morocco. It was unfortunate for Morocco to lose, but then again, it would also be unfortunate for Croatia to lose. There were two teams that I think they were more or less the underdogs in the tournament as it progressed. Two teams nobody really wanted to see go out, but inevitably they ended up in third, fourth place playoff. Also, on top of that, we have a very quick look ahead to the final. I think the part I'm most interested in is once again talking about this illness that the French team have been facing. Modric is not quite finished yet, according to the man himself. Let's have a look at that. Southgate is sticking around. We're hearing rumors of that, and if we have a chance, we can have a look at a few transfer rumors as well, since January is just around the corner. Premier League set to return next week, next Wednesday, actually. I think it is a Tuesday or Wednesday. Definitely there are matches on Wednesday. All right, we're going to get straight into it. So it was Croatia versus Morocco, and here's the page that I'm looking for. All right, this was exciting. Nothing like the 0-0 draw that these two teams played out against each other when they met in the group stages. So yeah, completely different to what we were expecting, but fantastic. Very entertaining, but certainly in the second half, you could see that these teams tired a lot. Now, it was quite an even match in many respects. Scoreline obviously not that even, not as even as you would like it to be if you're Morocco, to bring it to extra time and a potential penalty shootout. They couldn't make it happen. Croatia looked like they had more of the killer touch, if you ask me. Just a little bit more clinical when it came down to it. And we've said it many times during this tournament that Croatia are street smart, and that's absolutely true. And when you have the likes of Luka Modric, who's been there, done it all, experienced it all with Croatia, experienced it all with Real Madrid, yeah, he knows what's going on. And he even played for Tottenham Hotspurs at one time, believe it or not. Okay, look, starting out, Vardiol scored the opening goal straight off the training ground for Croatia. And then Dari scored for Morocco within, basically within 2 minutes. It felt like immediately after, if you're completely honest. Then just before halftime, Orsic scored that amazing goal, looped it up over the goalkeeper off the crossbar. Well, not crossbar, off the post and into the net. Lovely, lovely goal. All of the goals actually looked really good. Beautiful play. Now looking at the stats, possession 45-45 with 10% in contest. Attempts and goals shows a slightly different game from the one that I feel like I saw, but it does show that Morocco had many more attempts and goal, 4 of which were on target versus 2 on target from Croatia. Still, in saying that, I did feel that Croatia were much more dangerous, especially in the second half with the counter-attack. If they were a little less tired, I think they could have really finished off Morocco. But Morocco did look very tired themselves, and just towards the end, I felt some of the long balls they were playing or some of the true passes were ever so slightly on the hopeless side. You'd really want to be hoping for a miracle to make any of those work. But anyway, that's just the way that it goes. Final third entries, you can see down the right-hand channel that Croatia had a lot of success there. But what gets interesting is when you look further at these stats and you look at the passing, for example, if we come all the way down to this, so line breaks looks pretty even. Discipline, we won't worry about that. 2 yellow cards versus 0. So the passes, this is an amazing stat. 491 passes from Morocco, 494 from Croatia, 430 completed passes, 428 completed passes. Crosses, 21 versus 20. Crosses completed, 3 versus 5. Switches of play, a little bit different there, 7 versus 12. But very, very even between these two teams. Very even indeed. Let's see corner kicks. That's the one I'd be interested in. So more corner kicks actually for Morocco and slightly more free kicks for Croatia, but a very even match in many regards. But Croatia emerge as victorious, and you could see at the end how much it meant to them. So very good win for Croatia. Nice entertaining match, not another 0-0, because we really didn't need another 0-0 in this World Cup, and hopefully we won't be getting one of those for the final. That would be a disaster. Argentina and France, so it's very hard to see that one being 0-0. Yeah, and then let's have a look ahead to the final itself. So, thinking about the final, what I wanted to do was just firstly track the route of Argentina and France to the final before speaking a little bit about their teams. We don't really have any team news for either of them just yet. We're just waiting for that to come in. But we do, of course, have an update on the illnesses that France were facing, which is concerning. We're assuming as well that Lionel Messi will be starting in the final. It looked like he may have had a hamstring strain during the earlier stages of the semi-final, but no, as far as we're aware, he's definitely playing. And even if he did have some kind of a strain, I can only imagine what it would take for him not to play. This is the big moment. This is the Messi match. And before we get into all of that, I will be on the referee lookout today. I have been very skeptical of Argentina being gifted very easy penalties, very easy free kicks through this World Cup. I feel like, they say it's written in the stars for Messi. Well, I say it's ever so slightly potentially scripted on the FIFA side for Messi to be, the legend. Everybody remembers the 2022 World Cup. Where was it held? Oh, yeah, it was in Qatar. Wasn't there something controversial about that? No, that was the Messi World Cup. The legend Messi. Remember him? Maradona, Pele, Messi. That's could be the angle that FIFA are trying to take on all of this. So we'll see. We'll see. Look, don't castigate me for this, but we'll see how this one plays out. I genuinely believe that France have a better team than Argentina, but let's see what happens. Let's see if there's any controversy at all. Offside goals, handballs not given, easy frees, easy penalties in danger areas for Messi. Just let's keep the eyes open and see what happens. It's just one additional aspect I want to look at in this match, and I'll move away from the controversy now and away from the conspiracy theories. But Argentina, so as you can see, they finished on top of their Group C, as everybody expected before this tournament began. But they had the rockiest start you could imagine. Look at that. Losing to Saudi Arabia 2-1. So they were 1-0 up at halftime in that match, and then they went on to lose 2-1 to Saudi Arabia. And you see the weaknesses of Argentina, and you're starting to think, well, they may not make it out of this. They did follow that up, though, with a 2-0 win over Mexico. They weren't hugely convincing in that 2-0 win against Mexico, and then they had a 2-0 win against Poland. And the Poland match was a little bit more convincing. Messi really stepped up. The team they just looked better than Poland, to be honest. And so they managed to come through in first place, with Poland actually coming through in second place. So that was good for them. And by comparison, then, when we look at how France were doing, so France were looking very strong from day one. What group were France in? They're Group D. France were looking very strong from day one. A 4-1 win against Australia to kick things off. And you're just thinking, wow, they're amazing. All the players that they've lost in the build-up to this tournament, like the Pogbas, Benzema, the Golden Ball winner, the Ballon d'Or winner, Benzema not even playing for them. So craziness for France, but they turn up, and you're thinking, oh well, Australia, it's only Australia, they're not that good. Little did we realize Australia were a lot better than we anticipated. Actually, look at the final table, finishing on 6 points along with France. Then France had the big grudge match against Denmark, so they not the best record against Denmark, actually. Drawing and losing recent matches in the Nations League and everything else against Denmark. But actually, France looked very comfortable in that match. Now, the scoreline doesn't really indicate that, but Denmark, they had about 15-20 minutes where they looked like they were kind of on top of France for a while, but France were really just in second gear. They hadn't even gotten going. So a comfortable enough win for France coming through there. And then in the final match, they started with the subs and everything. They knew they were already through. Then eventually they did pile on all the big hitters such as Griezmann towards the end of the match. But they did lose to Tunisia 1-0. Now, you can argue France got a goal at the end of that. It was disallowed through some very dodgy VAR, but it didn't change the result of the group, thankfully. And so France went through as group winners, whilst Australia went through in second place. So that all meant that there were no huge surprises in terms of who went through in the on the top of both of those groups for Argentina and for France. Getting tongue-tied here. I'm very excited about the match coming up later. Argentina then played Australia, who of course lost 4-1 to France. 2-1 Argentina. Argentina didn't look very good in that match at all. Took a 2-0 lead. Australia hit back, but Australia had a few chances towards the end of that match. And then, speaking about unconvincing, Netherlands versus Argentina. Once again, 2-0 for Argentina. And the Netherlands, around the 80th minute, decided they needed to take a few shots on goal. They only had one shot on target up to that point in the match. And they leveled it up at 2-2 with basically the last kick of the match as well before it went into extra time. So once again, there were definitely defensive frailties on view from Argentina. And when I saw that they were going to be playing Croatia next, who had just beaten Brazil in a penalty shootout in the other quarterfinal, you felt, this could be tight. And it had a draw written all over. But no, this is where Argentina turned on the magic. They started to play some very nice. They switched to 4-4-2 for a while. It looked like a 4-2-2-2 at one stage as well during the Croatian match. But Argentina were playing very nice balls over the top or true balls along the ground. It's like playing a game of FIFA. So they were hitting the triangle button or the whatever you call it. Yeah, the triangle button. But yeah, some very nice true balls, and it caused a lot of issues for Croatia. So Argentina came out of that with a comfortable win and looked very impressive going into the final on the back of that. Then we need to look for France, and so France had Poland, who of course came through. Is this correct? France had Poland. I feel like Poland were already in France's group. No, Poland were in Argentina's group. Sorry, that's why I'm getting confused. Yeah, so France had a relatively comfortable win over Poland. Poland, of course, only got that penalty at the very end of the match to get that one goal, which they had to take twice actually. But that's Hugo Lloris, coming off the line. Don't do that today, Hugo Lloris, if you can. Any mistakes possible, just avoid them. Today is not the day for mistakes. Then we had the big matchup against England. As we know at this stage, and we've seen it in the Morocco match as well, France have a tactic. When they get ahead in the match, they just sit back and then try to get the team on the counter-attack. So they'll obviously do the exact same thing, I would imagine, against Argentina today if they do take the lead. And that's exactly what they did against England. England had a great opportunity to draw that match. They did miss the penalty towards the end of the match. Harry Kane missed the second penalty. Their first goal was a penalty as well. But France just about scraped through. Not a good performance from France, all in all. But, if you look at both teams, you would still be saying that France, on paper, is slightly better team than England, although England is pretty good. I thought they were the two best teams in the tournament, to be perfectly honest. Then you're through to the semi-final. And by the way, I'm Irish, so I have no allegiances to England whatsoever. So, it's fine for me to say that. It must mean England probably have an even better team than I'm making out. So France versus Morocco, 2-0 to France. France weren't totally comfortable there. Morocco had a lot of chances. They just didn't have that clinical final touch that they needed to have. So it could have been a lot tighter than the scoreline suggests. But either way, Morocco hadn't conceded a goal until this point in the match. So it does go to show you what type of firepower the French team have. And so a weak Argentinian defence will be in trouble. I would really worry about the likes of Otamendi. They really need to get Martinez on there instead of Otamendi. There's some weakness in that Argentinian defence. So it all comes down to what the likes of Mbappe and Giroud and, of course, Griezmann can do against that Argentinian team. So that's the setup we have: Argentina versus France later on today, and it's hopefully going to be a cracker of a match. Hopefully, going to be a cracker of a match. That's what I'm really hoping for. Now, speaking of looking ahead to this match, so who has been sick? Okay, so we heard before the semi-final, this was the match against Morocco, that it was Upamecano and Rabiot were both sick. Upamecano was on the bench, but Rabiot had to stay back in the hotel. They missed training because they felt unwell, and neither of them then played in the semi-final. Of course, as I said, Rabiot was back in the hotel. Now on Thursday, we've heard Deschamps has confirmed that Kingsley Coman felt unwell. And also that Varane and Konate have fallen victim to this bug as well. So this is very, very worrying. So who actually trained on Friday is the very big question. Upamecano and Rabiot felt well enough, and they did return to training. Coman, Varane, and Konate were all forced to stay away from the main group and train separately. So they also trained, but not with the main group. Um, Hernandez and Chouameni were absent, but not because of sickness. So Hernandez had suffered a blow to his knee in the win over Morocco, and he trained individually. And Chouameni, who started all of France's games, is nursing a minor hip injury, so we more than likely won't see him starting today's match either. Now, we don't have any updates at all from the Argentinian team as to who's starting, but we believe it should be a relatively clean bill of health by comparison to who started in the semi-final. I don't think that means that their forward man Martinez will be back, but you know, it could be worse. Alvarez has been pretty damn good in this World Cup, so he's been pretty damn good. Now, Modric, he's not quite finished, is he? Or isn't he? Well, no. So he's finished on the world stage, let's put it that way. That was his final World Cup match yesterday. Not confirmed, but, you know, he's 37. He'll be 41 for the next World Cup, similar to Cristiano Ronaldo. So he won't be back. He hasn't come out just like Messi. So Messi has come out to say this is his final World Cup. Modric hasn't done that. However, in saying that, there was an interesting interview, I guess, with Modric after yesterday's match. So after the game, BBC asked him if he had aimed to be at the European Championships in 2024. And he actually responded, he said, we'll see. Okay, so he's not ruling it out. I need to go step by step. I'm enjoying the national team. And of course, he started all 7 of Croatia's World Cup games in Qatar, playing for about 656 minutes out of a possible 690. So he certainly still has it. You know, there's no fitness issues there at the moment, and at this moment in time for Modric at the ripe old age of 37. Gosh, who'd want to be that age? It's all right. I'm qualified. I'm qualified to say that. Don't worry. I can still perform at a high level, he said, and I want to continue until at least the Nations League. That will give me the time to think about Euro 2024. So he's going to continue until the summer at least. Nations League probably wraps up in around the June timeframe, isn't that right? This is the last World Cup for some of the players due to their age. Dalic said, this is the Croatian manager. But we have young players in our team. There is great hope for Croatia. We have many young players on the bench. The older players instill confidence in them. Croatia has nothing to fear in the future. Is this the end of an era? I believe not. We have the League of Nations and Euro 2024. I believe Croatia has a fascinating future. They certainly do have a fascinating future. And, you know, they have bounced from one good team to another good team. Croatia has always had a strong team, you know, from recent years over the last 20, 25 years. You know, you think of Davor Šuker and players like that. They always have some good players coming through. And even if you didn't have Modric, you have the likes of Perisic. Some great players on this Croatian team. So they certainly do have a good track record in that regard. But it will be interesting to see how they evolve moving forward. And they're not the only European team that need to evolve moving forward as well. You know, you have the likes of, I would imagine a few of the Netherlands players will be retiring. But then you also have Belgium, who will need a major overhaul. It'll be interesting to see what will happen with France if they do win a second World Cup. I'm sure that would be a good time for certain players to retire. Will Benzema ever make it back for France in a World Cup? Probably not. You know. So they're not the only ones facing this. Southgate may be sticking around is the next story that we have. Southgate sticking around. Yeah, what's that all about? Well, I don't believe it's been 100% confirmed yet, but we are hearing stories now that Southgate, I think Southgate is 52, is he? But that he has taken the decision that he will be remaining with the England team. Of course, the FA wouldn't dare to sack him. No, how could you do that? And of course, with all the recent calls that an Englishman leads to lead the England team, you know, so he's very well qualified. Is there a better English manager out there at the moment that could take the English team? Hard to tell. Graham Potter was the one we were talking about last week, but you know, he's relatively new in the Chelsea job. Just give him a chance at that. So yeah, that's the rumor we're hearing, that Southgate will stay on. This is I'm not the biggest England fan in the world, as I've said a few times. You've heard me say that. But this is depressing, I think, for England. You know, he's the type of player. He brought along James Maddison to the World Cup and didn't even start him, not even for 1 minute during the tournament. He has his favourites on the team. It's very similar to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would say. He has relatively good team cohesion. You know, of course, there was that one player that did go home during the World Cup, so you can't definitively 100% say that, but relatively good team cohesion. Much more defensively minded. He's all about the Maguires and people like that. And, you know, he struggles. He struggles to go into the attacking game. You could say that if England had a better manager, they may well have come through against France in that quarter final. We'll never know. We'll never know. And actually, the thing that drives me crazy, and I was reading about this recently, where they were talking about you know, the foul on Saka just before France's first goal in that match, the foul in the build up or in the lead up to the goal. That was it was Chouameni, wasn't it, that eventually scored that goal for France, but it was Mbappe that had the big break there. I think it was up in Meccano actually that fouled Saka in the build up. But a lot of analysis on this. How could this have been missed? You know, and England would be in the semi-final if it wasn't for this. Now, you know, as an Irish fan, I've been there. We of course had the issue with the Thierry Henry handball all those years ago. We'll never forget though. But you know, I've heard the argument. We would have been in the World Cup if it wasn't for that. It's not necessarily true, and the same can be said for England. They wouldn't have been in the World Cup semi-final if it wasn't for that. It would have been a draw, okay, and it would have gone to extra time, and it would have gone to penalty shootouts. And we all know how great England are in penalty shootouts, or not so great as the case may be. And Gareth Southgate himself is not one man to be talking about penalty shootouts. We all remember 1996, or well, for those of us that do remember 1996 will know what I'm talking about. Those of you that don't remember 1996, get onto YouTube and have a look at Gareth Southgate's penalty in the Euros, I believe. Yeah, the Euro 96. And I feel that's a marker of Gareth Southgate's career, to be perfectly honest. So close yet so far. All comes down to this final kick. We missed it. Okay, well, there's always next time. And that's very much been the approach that they've taken. Let's not forget, when England lost 4-0 to the Hungarians during the summer, the English crowd were singing, "You don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing," or something to that effect. So anyway, let's move on from that. Then finally, we're coming on to transfer rumours. Transfer rumours. Let me see if I can find the page where I actually had the transfer rumours open. So Liverpool have grown more confident that they will pull ahead in the battle to sign Jude Bellingham. Not surprised to hear that in the slightest. They have always been leading the race as far as we're aware. Man United have also joined the race for Jude Bellingham and are planning a £200 million splurge in the summer to sign the Borussia Dortmund star, as well as Barcelona's Frankie de Jong. And that's right, we've heard a lot of talk about the Frankie de Jong thing again, the whole saga being reignited in January. They're mentioning the summer here. This story comes from the Sun, so you know, you can pretty much just ball that up and throw it in the bin. Chelsea and Liverpool are interested in signing Caicedo, who's impressed at the World Cup. Brighton are under no pressure whatsoever to sell him, and too right. So show me the money is what Brighton will be saying. Show me the money. The agent of Lukaku says that the attacker is not currently close to penning a new contract with Borussia Dortmund, and he's been linked with Liverpool, United, Man United that is, and Chelsea. So nothing new there. That's coming through from Sky Germany. Chelsea hope to usurp Real Madrid in the battle to sign Vardiol from Croatia, of course, by attempting a deal for the RB Leipzig defender in January. That's according to the Mirror. And Borussia Mönchengladbach are willing to sell striker Marcus Thuram, currently in France's World Cup squad, for just £10.5 million in January. Actually, that does seem like a bargain. You know, United are looking for a striker. I think he's probably not to the level that they're looking for. Probably a little bit too young for Man United as well. They usually want strikers who are at least 35, 36, 37, 38, 45, 50 before they join the team. Mortara, I've done it again. Mortara. the Formula E driver, Murata. Murata is the one they've been all mentioning. Don't actually know what age Murata is. I guess he's about 35, 36. It feels like he's been around forever. Wolves want to sign as many as 6 players in the January transfer window with the new manager, Lopetegui. If I've said that right, I can never say his name right. Keen to add more British talent to the squad. What do you mean it's not going to be a Portuguese team anymore? Ooh, that's a shocker. That's a shocker. Anything else going on? Marco Asensio is due for showdown talks with Real Madrid over his future once he returns from the World Cup, having made just 1 league start this season. This comes from Mundo Deportivo. And Jose Mourinho is considering an approach from the Portuguese Football Federation to manage the side in Euro 2024 qualifying and beyond, but he isn't yet convinced to leave behind his 22 years as a club coach. It's very hard to get back into the old club game if you go down the international management route, because he'll really get shown up there. I hadn't realised that Santos, the Portuguese manager, is leaving, so maybe that's the inside scoop you've just gotten there. But correct me in the comments, maybe he has announced his retirement, resignation, whatever, that he won't sign a new deal with the Portuguese team. I think his time has come, to be perfectly honest. Portugal, in my opinion, very similar to England, could achieve a lot more with the team they have, but they're held back somewhat by the manager that they have. The usual reminder, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified as well. Leave us some comments, final predictions. Who's going to win, Argentina versus France? And if you're seeing this after the match, what did you think of the match? I'm very excited. It all comes down to this. 1 more game in the World Cup. Today is day 29 of the World Cup. Is it going to be France? Is it going to be Argentina? Well, my prediction is France, but watch that referee. Anyhow, I hope you really enjoy the match, and I'll try to come back with my opinion on this either tomorrow or the day after, depending on how things go. You know, the Christmas rush is on. It's very, very hard to find time for anything at the moment. Anything, let alone a World Cup final. Hope you have a good one. Speak to you soon.